to New Orleans Home Search Podcast. I am your host, Jewel Bakewell, broker and owner of Crown Jewel Realty, and I'm super excited to be on today. We are talking to Mr. Chad Dabney with Total Home Inspections. I have worked with Chad on inspections, and I thought it would be important to bring him on because, as you know, we talk everything New Orleans and everything real estate. And we have been talking a lot about what's going on in the city. I wanted to shed some light on some real estate. So, thank you, Chad, for coming on today.
So thank you for having me. How you doing, everybody? As Jules said, my name is Chad Dabney. I'm the owner of Total Home Inspections located here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm happy to be here, ready to get talking, give some people some insight on home inspections, and hopefully it helps them out.
Okay, Chad. So, tell me, how did you get started with doing inspections?
Well, it was kind of a winding road. Before starting inspections, I used to work in the oil and gas industry. I did that for 15 years. COVID happened. Was forced to make some life changes. You know how they say sometimes you don't see the road until you get there. It's kind of what happened to me. I had an interaction with a home inspector. It's kind of piqued my interest, and I was like, I wonder what you got to do to become a home inspector. So I started investigating, doing some research, got the course, went in, and here I am. Took the test, got licensed through the state, and I jumped in. The decision was to either go on my own or sign up with one of the bigger companies. I decided to go out on my own, and
I
it's
love
working out
that you
well.
I love that you did, and I'm so happy to see someone of color working in your industry. I know you probably heard it from others as well. There's very few of you, so I'm just
Yes.
happy that you chose it as a path, a career path.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I kind of realized that too, just looking around and doing training. So I knew there was a need, and not really a need for a black home inspector, but just to give people that option. And so I'm
Right.
glad I'm doing good work, and I'm not just just one of the guys. I feel like I'm adding a value to people when they book my home inspection.
I think so too. And one thing I love about your home inspections are the reports afterwards.
Mm. That's good
They're
to know.
detailed. Yes, I love your reports. They're detailed. They're to the point. I mean, if you don't know about the terms having to do with a house, there's pictures, there's
Yeah.
labels,
Y-
videos. So is anyone is capable of really understanding exactly what it is that they're looking at.
Yeah, I kind of want the report to be like a conversation. Like if you show up to the inspection, we're gonna have a conversation about the house as we going through it. But unfortunately, I just can't talk the whole time. I have to do the inspection. So with the report, I like to try to be informative, uh, educate people, and just give them something that they can understand, that they'll want to go back and look at if they have any questions. So I'm glad people like the report because that's kind of what I want people to take away from my service. Like, hey,
Yeah.
he's not talking over my head. He's not, trying to make things seem overly, bad. You know how they say we kill deals. I just want to give you the facts and give you some information to support it.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, with us agents. We have a love-hate relationship with inspectors. So we'll
Yeah.
love you if we're working with the buyer, but if we're
Hmm.
working with the seller and we have the listing, not so much. But I try to explain to my sellers it's good to have a home inspection before we put the house on the market.
Right.
So can you talk maybe more to the sellers? I know we talk a lot to buyers when we're talking about home inspections, but
Hmm.
as a seller, like what's their benefit from your service before entering into the market?
I would say time and money because time is money, right? So if you get your pre-inspection done before you list a house, you can go in and decide what you want to fix. You want to decide, okay, I need to budget this much to fix it. So you're not rushing after the buyer gets the home inspection in that inspection period to get those things fixed. I honestly don't know why more people don't do it. I mean, the market today is a little weird. They really don't have to, kind of, but I
Mhm.
would want to know if I'm putting a house up. I'm trying to get top dollar for it. I would like to know what's wrong and what could stop me from getting the amount of money I think. And there's no frustration in doing it at the end of the period as opposed to doing it before. You relax, you can get it done, and you can list the house, and you know it's easy. So I would do it if I was selling my house.
One other point I give is that if you know your to-do list, right, you get
Hmm.
it done beforehand. Some of those things you can do
Yeah,
yourself,
right.
but if you wait until the inspection, the buyer is going to want a licensed person to complete the work.
Hmm. Right,
So there's more money that you'll have to spend to get the task done versus knowing on the front end, maybe taking a weekend out to do some DIY projects
right.
and have it ready, for the buyer.
Yeah, a lot of
So
times, most of the things in the inspection are kind of geared toward handyman or DIY. The bulk. Now, the major stuff is where you need a contractor, but you get the
right,
pre-inspection, you can see what, hey, be honest with yourself and be like, I can handle this. This ain't my thing. I need to get somebody to do this. Don't try to
right.
don't try to paint if you ain't never painted before. You might make it look worse than it is. So just be honest with
Please
yourself.
don't.
Be honest with yourself, and then and get it done. I and I've been doing research on pre-inspections, and all across the country, home inspectors always try to push them, and nobody really bites. Like it's never really caught on. So I don't know. Maybe if things change in the market, maybe people will change their mind.
So another big point that I give about pre-inspection is to builders because believe it or not, builders' home inspection reports are worse than
Man,
older homes. I mean, I
yeah,
have seen Bibles of inspection reports for a brand new house. So
yeah,
it would be nice to kind of check off that checklist because if a buyer sees that Bible, now they're intimidated.
hmm,
It may be a Bible full of simple things, but it's just
right.
too much and they're overwhelmed and they don't want to get involved. So for a
I would
builder,
say,
it's,
yeah.
you know,
I think like with builders, it's important if you find a good inspector, you can bring them in at each phase of the construction project. Um, just to kind of look over the work that you're doing. Like you can bring them in after the slab is being poured, or after you got your posting being built up. Then you come in before you put the wall on to make sure that all your vapor barriers and stuff are right. That just makes you look good and it helps your guys stay on top of their toes. So I know a lot of builders don't like home inspectors because they don't think, they think we don't know what we're talking about. They build houses all the time. But like you said, we do a home inspection on new construction. You're like, man, do you know what you're doing?
yeah, and you never want your workmanship to be questioned,
Right.
especially when that buyer is buying into a new home warranty with you,
Hmm.
and they're gonna have that relationship with you at least for this next year
Right.
after this house has been built. So they want to make sure that they're buying quality work.
Yeah. And people spending a lot of money for new construction, right? A lot of money for houses. So you don't want people to look at your product and be like, man, I'm spending all this money. He couldn't even do this right. They can't even do this right. This is wrong. This is wrong. Like, it don't look good for you. And if you get
And you
a
don't
bad
want the phone
reputation,
calls.
right.
You
Yeah,
know,
you don't want the phone call.
okay, I got my check. I
Hmm.
closed and like I
I'm
really
trying
don't
to
want to
move
hear.
to the next
I'm
property.
not trying to be nice, but I
Right.
don't want to hear from you really. If I hear from you, it's not good.
Right.
So,
Something's
just
wrong.
that. Yes, refraining from hearing from the buyers because they're satisfied with the product. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
work with a roofing contractor. And so after he does his roofing jobs, I'll do the inspections post post roofing job. And so, I send out a little report just on the roof, and he takes it and they go back and fix the some of the issues. And it's always an issue, right? But that's a way of him keeping his name good. I show up and say, "Hey, I'm a home inspector working for such and such. I'm here to inspect the roof." People appreciate that. So, you can make a mistake, but be willing to fix it, and that goes a long way with people, especially when they're spending money to fix big things.
That's so true. And it's better to be proactive than reactive because sometimes you don't even know what to consider. So
Right.
just having second pair of eyes coming in and say, "Hey, you're missing out on this," it
Hmm.
could be costly if you wait.
Yeah. Like I said,
So
time is money.
I want to hear some funny stories. I want you to tell me
Oh
what's the funniest thing that's happened or that you've seen when doing home inspections.
man, they got one that stick out. It was about 3 weeks ago. Um, it was in Gentilly. It was a raised double multifamily. It was older house. It was in good shape. Now go in the attic, and there's an altar. Like somebody had been up there. They had incense. They had a little desk, and they just had random pictures of like Diana Ross and like Eddie Murphy and like Charlie. It was just random, and they had bees, and they had like just. I was like, man, I was like, let me hurry up and get down from here. But I was like, I ain't touching nothing. Like I was like, man, let me hurry up. Because like either they coming back or they didn't want this stuff touched. They in the attic for a reason. The attic wasn't finished. So it was
Oh
just a hot
wow.
attic. It was just an attic. It was just like a regular attic, but they put all that stuff up there, man. And it was put in a way. At first I thought it was just random junk, but then I looked at it, I was like, oh, this on purpose.
Somebody said this.
Somebody up there. I
Oh
was like, man,
wow.
yeah, I was a little spooked at that one. I was like, well, let me hurry up and wrap this up so I can get down from here. I was like, somebody get some sage and sage me down, get some of this, this juju
Visionary.
off me.
Only in New Orleans will you see something
Man,
like that.
only yeah, only in New Orleans. I meant to post that one on Instagram, but I was like, man, maybe they follow me. I don't want nobody.
I know it's always so random. People, the stuff
Oh
that
man,
happens to me is crazy all the time, and people always like, "Why didn't you post that?" I'm like,
man, I don't think
they
about
probably follow me, or they're gonna share it and see.
it.
And this
Yeah, you
a
got to
lot
be
of this
careful.
stuff is confidential, so
Yeah, you can't put that. You got to make sure whatever you posting is, not identifiable.
yeah.
Sometimes the stuff is funny because it's so bad that it's funny. It's not just funny, but like you'll see people. I did a house recently where they had a window from the garage into the living area. I was like, "What are y'all doing?" Stuff like that, like just bad workmanship. Some of it is just like, man, who doing the work? But you see so much. It depends
I
on what
know
neighborhood you're in.
we were just talking about we just did a building together, a commercial
Yeah,
building. They put a wrench by
on
the
the
drain,
yeah. And I
and
was
I'm
wondering, I want to take it off, but I was like, nah, because it might be holding this water back.
I be
I'm gonna leave it
holding it up.
alone.
I know you don't know what
Mm,
to do. I did
yeah.
post that. I'm like,
Oh, you post that one?
yes.
Because I looked and then I was like, that's not what I thought it was. And I went back, I was like, man, that's vice grip. And so bad enough, the wall was gone. It was missing.
Yeah, no, and
So
then the brick was strategically spaced
it's
out to
out
make up.
for the vice. Well, yeah, that's gonna be a yeah. You
Yeah,
never
that was
know.
one.
Let me see what else. I've seen people put hose pipes in for drain lines, uh, all kind of stuff. Duct tape is everywhere. People use duct tape for everything. Electrical wrapping,
Everything. Duct tape does work on
everything.
everything.
I guess if you put enough on it, it'll work.
Oh yeah, they had
Uh,
duct tape on the air duct work, the AC
yeah,
duct
just
work. That's what
wrap
we
it
did
real
too.
good.
Yeah,
Wrap
it
it real good.
matched.
Nobody will know. It matched. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but yeah,
So
that kind of stuff though. Go
what's
ahead.
something the buyers should expect? Because like buyers, people working in the public, they don't know, and people
hmm
don't know what to expect. People don't know what they're walking into. If you were to make a public service announcement, like, hey guys, what's something that you would mention?
First I'll tell everybody, look, the house is not going to be perfect. So you need to lower your expectations. I know you've been dreaming about how you're going to decorate the house, how you're going to paint the walls, what color the curtains going to be. Let's let's go back down. Let's get our emotions out of it. No house is going to be perfect. And I think if people enter in and in that mindset, then everything will be okay. Like they'll be fine. But if they go in thinking, "Oh, this is my dream house," and hear this guy come in, excuse me for the background noise. Hear this guy coming in. telling me how messed up things are. It just makes the experience bad. So I would say, first, that the house is not perfect. Second of all, your house, while it may be still, things act upon it, and your house is always changing. And so that's another thing people need to realize when they purchase in a house. You got wind, you got air, you got heat, all those things act upon the house, and it can change the condition of the home quickly, especially in South Louisiana where you got these wide temperature ranges.
That's a huge point because a lot of houses have settlement issues, and you can see them, and people are alarmed, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a foundation situation," because foundations are a huge thing that we deal with here as well. But most houses just have settlement from being moved over the years or shifted, and technically we're all over water.
Right. Yeah, we sitting on soft soil here, and the ground moves, and so you have to be prepared for those cracks. Now, doesn't mean you have a structural issue, but it does mean that you need to take care of that crack, because if you get water in that crack, it will get worse. It will get bad, and you will have to have some major repairs. So that's what I like to include in the report, um, just to kind of get people to understand that, hey, you got a crack. It may not be structural, but it needs to be sealed and taken care of.
And the other thing is termites. So I tell people, look, this is where we live. So termites are like roaches here. If you haven't already seen one, you're gonna see termites. So it's something we deal with, and if you see it in the report or previous termite activity in the report, don't be alarmed.
Right.
It's just our climate.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of previous damage, or past damage from termites, depending on the age of the house. In almost every older home, you'll see it. Now, like you said, it doesn't mean that you have active termite issue, but you need to know about it. Um, that's something that you need to consider. Like, hey, it had it in the past. Is it treated? Is the house treated? Um, do I need to get a termite guy out to check it out? I know you always schedule termite video and everybody in one time. So, but some people
Yeah.
don't. They're like, "Oh, I need a termite inspection." Yeah, you need one.
Yeah,
You don't skip it.
I always
Uh,
do. The reason why is because if you see termite activity, I
right, they're
already
gonna
have
happen.
the termite guy there to talk to you about it. I don't have to be the translator and where the activity was or what we're seeing. Everyone's there to physically see what the issue is, and we can move from there with it. So that's why I like having my buyers at the inspection, because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, it's your house. And
Right.
even if they're out of town, we can FaceTime. Thank God for
Hmm.
technology that allows this
Man.
for us, because you need to know what's going on with your house that you're going to be living in, and where certain things are, like your breaker
Right.
box or just
Hmm.
anything, especially if we have a storm. I know when the storm came, I didn't know nothing. I was like,
Hmm.
wait, I was supposed to unplug everything, and they didn't tell me that at my inspection, but
Yeah.
and
So,
I, and
and that's
I didn't know that. So that's why it's so important, because you never know what you don't know.
right. And one of my big things, and I see it on most. It may seem small. Some people might say, "Why are you putting that in there?" But labeling the panel, the electrical panel. If it's not labeled and you got to go shut something off, you don't know what you got to shut off, and then you just flipping breakers at that point. If it's labeled properly, you can go and say, "Hey, I got an issue in the kitchen. I can shut this one off, or this the lights in the kitchen, or this the bathroom." If it's not labeled, then you're gonna be guessing, and so that's one of those little small details that make everybody's life easier when you have that emergency. Knowing where the breaker is, that's a big one. I always put the location in my reports. Knowing where the main water shutoff is, um, that's a big one too. If you got a pipe burst, you need to know where you need to go to turn that water off outside your house, right? If you don't know, then you're gonna be constantly having water come in the house, and you got to figure out where you turn it off at. It's a mess. So that's something I would say, and it doesn't take a genius to find out where it is. Oh, yeah, just turn the knob, but it's something you need to know. And that's why I always tell people read the inspection report. because that information is in there. Um, so you'll know.
Someone asked from Facebook, can
Mhm.
you have your own home inspection? Or I believe it was, do you have to go through the bank? Or does
Um,
that have to send you one? I don't
no,
know.
I guess I'm assuming this is for just a regular property, not like one of those deals where you build in the house and the bank has to come out and inspect it at each draw. But just a basic home purchase. Yeah, you pick who you want for your home inspection. Of course, your biggest resource for referrals is your realtor. Um, that's why it's important to get a realtor that you trust and that you know that's going to do a good job for you because they're going to point you in the right direction when it's time for you to choose that home inspector or that termite guy or that video pipe guy. Um, but yeah, it's ultimately up to you. They may give you a couple options. You can look at it. I did home buyers training yesterday, first time home buyers training. And I told them at the end of the presentation, I was like, look, when you choose a home inspector, don't let price be the only deciding factor, right? Just because a guy is $50 cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
you might regret that at the end of the inspection, right? You might be on the short end of the stick for some things. So, just listen to your realtor, talk to some friends and family. But yeah, you can pick your own home inspector.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll have clients that say, "Hey, Jewel, whatever, get your guys," and
Hmm.
that's fine with me. And then other times I have clients that say, "Well, I'll find my own home inspector," and that's fine too. But most of the time, then they start working on scheduling and getting pricing and looking at reviews. And when it's time to schedule all three at the same time, they change their mind and tell me to do it.
Yeah, that gets to be a task,
Yeah,
trying to get
they're
everybody
like, "Oh
lined up.
wait, why do I agree to doing this? You do it." So,
Yeah, and that's
but
that's why we were talking earlier. I kind of offer the online scheduling, so they can go in and at least schedule that without having to call somebody. They'll see my dates and all that stuff, so it works out well.
I thought that was an awesome tool that you have because I mean it makes it so much simpler. Like I said, for those clients who do want to schedule on their own, they can just go online and do it. Simple,
Hmm.
fast, easy. The agreement that you send to the email is easy to understand. It also gives an option to pay then,
Hmm.
which is nice, especially for my out of town clients. And
Yeah.
then the report, of course, we talked about the report before, but the report is beautiful. So I know
Mhm.
people appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. That was my big concern when I first started. Like I want to be able to give people enough information. So getting good feedback about the report is important to me. I appreciate it.
All right, we got a question from Lynette. Lynette says, "How long does the home inspection process take once you're on the property?"
I would say for the average home, let's say 2,000 square feet, we're looking at about 2.5 hours, just to go through everything. And in my mind, honestly, I don't feel like I'm there that long. Sometimes I have to look at my watch and be like, how long have I been here? Because I feel like I'm moving faster than I actually am. Because once you get your routine down, you kind of follow it for each house, right? But it takes about 2 hours. If it's a real small property, like a little condo, 700 square feet, I can do that in about an hour 10, depending on the components. But yeah, 2 hours. And if you got an inspection, I'm not saying you have to be there the whole time, but you can show up at about an hour and you should be able to get enough information. And I'll do a summary after the inspection where I kind of go over some of the things that we saw. And then so you'll get an idea what kind of shape the house is in before you even get the report.
Yeah, I mean, if you can at least make it to the end, the
Hmm.
last 30 minutes, so you get the summary, walk around the house with the inspector, get a recap on what exactly it is that you're looking at. But I don't know, my clients, Chad, we turns it out.
Yeah,
We'll be
sometimes it's
we
some fun.
we have fun in our 2 hours.
Yeah, I'll be like, man, they're having a good time in there. Like, let me
Yeah,
focus on
we
what I'm
find them
doing.
healthy. We bring snacks. We take that
Snacks are
time
good.
out, if you have and we were laughing about this before the podcast, but sometimes just maybe it's just you and me that view the property.
Hmm.
The rest of your
Right.
family haven't. in the house yet. So the inspection is the time when everybody gets to
Everybody
see,
can
oh,
come in.
for something, we will all want to see it. So the whole family, and that's always funny. Poor
Yeah, it's
Chad.
always funny. Poor Chad is right. I'm man, because sometimes, when the whole family come, I got 3 other assistants I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
You
Especially when
saw
the
that?
dad or the uncle come that
Oh
work on
man.
houses.
Oh man. I used to paint. I was an
Yeah.
electrician. You saw that? You got that? Yeah, I saw it. I ain't got that yet. You just got to be polite. I know people. I know at the end of the
Uh,
day, they just looking out for their family member. Uh,
yeah.
so it's kind of funny to me. I don't let it bother me, but it is funny.
You can always tell who have the least amount of money to contribute to the purchase.
Oh yeah, but it
Because
is.
they're
It is a. I will say though, when the mama come, you gotta be ready. Like if it's the uncle or daddy, they sometimes be quiet. When the mama come,
oh
they're not gonna let
yeah.
their baby buy that bad house, boy. They be
Oh, that
on it.
mama's coming.
They coming, and so I
And
always laugh.
do while the inspection is going on is talk to the neighbors
Hmm.
because while you're spending that time, the neighbors know everything.
Everything. Yep.
They know if the house ever caught on fire. I've had neighbors tell us somebody died in the house. Obviously, as
Really.
realtors, it's not mandatory that they disclose that information. So
Hmm.
the realtor wasn't doing anything wrong by not telling us. But
Right.
the neighbors were happy to reveal all of what happened in the house.
All the
So
business.
all the business. The neighbors will tell you what happened during Katrina. They'll give you the full rundown
Hmm.
of what happens when we have storms, if they hold water on the street, what's going on in the neighborhood, who's homeowners, who's renters, especially if you can find an older person on the porch. So
Absolutely.
that inspection is when we do research as well and just find out more information. Also, your insurance agent has questions, and a lot of times you don't know the answer to those, and neither
Right.
does your agent. But the inspector are able to provide those questions. So, during that little 2-hour window, we're gathering information for the insurance agent, like the age of the roof or the AC units, and those sort of things that really make a difference in your quote.
Oh my God. You definitely need to know if somebody died in the house.
Girl, you better stage that house.
I'll put an altar in the attic. Maybe that's why
Okay.
she had the altar in the attic. Maybe
Oh yeah,
somebody
maybe
died
that's why she was getting rid of them.
in it. Who
Think
knows?
about these 100-year-old and over 100-year-old houses that we have in the city. All
Man.
types of probably happen in there.
So yeah, all kind of stuff. You're right. Who knows what that
Yeah.
property used to be? Who
Yes,
knows?
exactly.
And I
And
know.
a lot of Canal Street is over a cemetery. There's dead bodies underneath the whole
I
area.
didn't know. I didn't know that.
Yes, all Canal Street is a burial ground.
Mm. Oh
We got
boy, always something interesting. I haven't seen
I
a
know.
grave in the backyard yet
You
on the
haven't yet?
inspection. I haven't yet. I don't. I mean, I've been in the city now. If I go out in the country, I'm sure because I'm from
Oh
the
yeah.
country, and so that's common. They bury the family in the backyard. So I haven't run across that yet. I've seen some pet altars, some pet graves in the backyard,
Oh,
but not
the pets. Yeah.
for Scruffy and Mittens the cat. But well, no, I did
Oh.
find a dead cat under the house though. They ain't know.
Oh, that's sad. You probably see all kind of stuff underneath houses.
Man, you got to be careful though. You know, people put everything under the house, but yeah, I've seen dead cats, dead squirrels, some creepy stuff. Be like, man, what is that? I saw a mannequin one time. I'm like, why is the mannequin under the house?
You thought it was a person at first?
Man, because I couldn't see. And it was one of them days where it was like cold and raining, and I saw that I saw that leg. I was like, whoa. I was like, man, because you never know here, man. They might put somebody under the
Right.
house, like you never know.
You really
But it
don't.
was it was a mannequin, so yeah, never a dull moment.
It's not. But I love it. I love what we do.
Hmm.
And I want to thank you, Chad, for coming on today and sharing your expertise guys, look up Total Home Inspections with Mr. Chad Dabney. His website, www.totalhomenola.com. You can schedule your inspections directly on his website, which is phenomenal. Chad is a community member. He's also a member of the NARAB, National
That's
Association
right.
of Estate Brokers. So we're happy to have him as well with NARAB and joining in our fight for affordable home ownership. So thank you guys for
Thank
tuning
you.
in to New Orleans Home Search Podcast. Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody.